Jai Shri Radhe, Sab Vaishnavan ko Jai Shri Krishna, Shri Gosai Ji ki Jai Ho. In the readings of our 252 Vaishnav disciples of Shri Gosai Ji, today is the day 170, Varta 150. The story of Uddhav Travadi, a Nagar Brahmin from Gujarat, Bhav Prakash. This is a devotee of Tamasi disposition. In the eternal Leela, her name is Renuka. She manifests from Kamala and is thus a form of her divine loving sentiment. Part 1. Once Sri Gosai Ji had travelled to Gujarat. It was at this time that he had initiated Uddhav Travadi with the Lord's name. Uddhav stayed with Sri Gosai Ji from then on. He was most blessed and an accomplished Vaishnava. Some time later, Uddhav Travadi asked Sri Gosai Ji, "O Maharaj, if someone had taken refuge in and been blessed by you, would it be possible for them to take shelter in another?" Sri Gosai Ji replied, "No, it is not possible for one in whose heart the Lord's form is firmly embedded, to form a relationship with any other Godhead." Hearing this, Uddhav Travadi was very happy. He again supplicated Sri Gosai Ji, "O Maharaj, when you bless a soul, they begin to recognize the beloveds. When your form reigns in their heart, then they can never be unfaithful. Know then Sri Acharyaji Mahaprabhu to have taken up his residence in the heart. The path becomes clear." Sri Gosai Ji pronounced, "O Travadi Ji, yes, this is correct." Part 2. Sri Gosai Ji made another trip to Dwarka and Uddhav Travadi accompanied him. They both had the holy sight of Sri Ranchorlalji and were overjoyed. Sri Gosai Ji stayed there in Dwarka for a number of days before returning to Gokul. Uddhav Travadi accompanied him there as well. After bathing, Sri Gosai Ji entered Sri Navneet Priyaji's temple. When he had completed the morning seva up to Rajbhog, he came and sat in his betak. When Uddhav Travadi had the holy sight of Sri Navneet Priyaji, he also came to Sri Gosai Ji's betak and sat down. Sri Gosai Ji asked him, "O Uddhav Travadi, did you have the holy sight of Sri Navneet Priyaji?" He replied, "O Maharaj, yes, I have, with your grace. I would also like to have the holy sight of Sri Govardhanaji." Sri Gosai Ji went off to take prasad. He also fed Travadi with a plate of Mahaprasad. When they were both ready, Sri Gosai Ji brought Travadi to Srinathji Dwar. After bathing, Sri Gosai Ji entered Sri Govardhanaji's temple. Sri Gosai Ji and Travadi both had the holy sight of Sri Govardhanaji's Aarti ceremony just before his resting for the night. When Travadi had the Lord's holy sight, he prostrated before him. He lost his body consciousness. Sri Gosai Ji brought him round by giving him some water in which the Lord's lotus feet had been washed and then returned to his betak. Uddhav Travadi followed him there and bowed down to him. Sri Gosai Ji read to him from his commentary Tippani on his father's Sri Subodhini. Uddhav Travadi could not have been happier to hear this divine discourse. Both of them took rest for the night. In the morning, Travadi asked for Sri Gosai Ji's permission to go on a tour of Vraja, and Sri Gosai Ji granted it. He sent one other Vaishnava to accompany him and show him the way. They both took leave of Sri Gosai Ji and set off. They circumambulated Sri Giriraji and then completed the 168-mile circumambulation of the whole of the Vraja land. They returned to have the holy sight of Sri Govardhanaji. Uddhav Travadi went to Sri Gosai Ji and said, "O Maharaj, my wish to complete the Vraja tour has been fulfilled." Sri Gosai Ji stated, "Sri Govardhanaji always fulfills the devotee's wishes." Travadi was ecstatic. He then took leave of Sri Gosai Ji and returned home. Bhav Prakash. The moral of this story is that when the forms of Sri Acharya and Sri Gosai Ji are established with total faith in the devotee's heart, then the path of grace will be clearly revealed to them. They will never be affected by even a tiny particle of relationship or refuge in any other or anywhere else. Thus concludes Varta 150, the story of Uddhav Travadi, who was the recipient of Sri Gosai Ji's great grace and an accomplished Vaishnava. There is truly no end to his tale. Moving on then to Varta 151, the story of Sita Bai and her mother Achal Bai, Nagar Brahmini ladies from Baranagar. Bhav Prakash. Sita Bai is a devotee of Tamasi disposition. In the eternal Leela, her name is Govardhani. She has one Sakhi named Sheila, who is born here as Sita Bai's mother. They manifest from Ishwari and are thus forms of her divine loving sentiment. Sita Bai was born into a wealthy family of Nagar Brahmins. When she was only 8 years old, she was married to a Brahmin boy. However, only 1 month after this, the boy died from smallpox. Sita Bai knew nothing of worldly ways and was very simple. Part 1. Once Sri Gosaiji had gone to Dwarka for the holy site of Sri Ranchorlalji. Baranagar was on the way and Sri Gosaiji set up camp there. Sitabai caught sight of him and felt very happy. Some other Vaishnavas were standing there in his presence and some others were receiving initiation with the Lord's name. Others were asking him questions. Sitabai observed all of this and she then requested him to accept her as a disciple. Sitabai's mother was named Achalbai. She was very old and stayed close to Sitabai. Sri Gosaiji told both of them to go to bathe, and they did. Sri Gosaiji first greatly blessed Sitabai by initiating her with the Lord's name. Then her mother also sat down for her name initiation. Sri Gosaiji loudly pronounced the Lord's name, repeating the mantra 3 times. She said to Sri Gosaiji, "O Maharaj, I am not capable of saying words such as these." Sri Gosaiji smiled and asked her, "Do you know my name?" She replied that she did, and he then told her, "You should chant my name." He said this to Achalbai, but he instructed all the other Vaishnavas, "Do not remember and chant my name. I have given you the 8-syllable mantra for repetition. Please always chant that mantra only." Bhav Prakash. In this way, Sri Gosaiji revealed the very esoteric nature of his name. Sri Gosaiji's name is actually a special reward. Only those whom he personally graces by revealing it to them are qualified to have it as their mantra. Part 1 continued. She then supplicated Sri Gosaiji, "O Maharaj, please give us the Brahma Sambandh initiation and then grant us Seva of the Lord." Sri Gosaiji initiated the 2 ladies with Brahma Sambandh and a Sri Thakurji Swarupa to serve. Sitabai constructed a little temple for her, Sri Thakurji, and established his Seva there. She began to make the nicest Seva. Sri Gosaiji taught her all the distinctions between the different categories of foodstuffs, and he stayed there in Baranagar for quite some time. He then left and travelled to Dwarkaji for the darshan of Sri Ranchorlalji and then returned to Gokul. Not long after, Sri Thakurji granted Sitabai his direct experience and spoke to her directly too. This went on for some days. Then Achalbai, her mother, left her body. Sitabai also became very weak and also left her body. It was quite some time before one Vaishnava came to Sri Gosaiji and told him this news. Hearing of her passing, Sri Gosaiji sang her praises, saying, "That lady's nature was very pure. She had no worldly wranglings in her heart or mind." Thus concludes Varta 151, the story of Sitabai and her mother, who were the recipients of Sri Gosaiji's great grace and were accomplished Vaishnavas. There is truly no end to their tale. Aaj ke Anand ki jai ho. We will take a rest here from the readings, and tomorrow continuing with Varta 152. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Aaj ke Anand ki jai, Jai Jai Shri Radhe.